Yet again, here we are reviewing yet another Zenless 0 update. This time we're reviewing version 1.6, an update packed full of content. This time our review will be a little bit different and a little bit longer due to the amount of content we need to speak about. But before we do get into it, make sure to subscribe, as only 7% of you are currently subscribed, and my goal is to reach 200 subs by June. Thank you so much for all of the support lately, and as always, let's get right into the review. Let's start with a quick breakdown of all the new rules for gacha reviews. Starting from now, gacha reviews will be different from normal reviews. Let's list the rules to give you an idea of what this means. Rule 1. If there's a reoccurring gacha on the channel that consistently gets a review per patch, I will only be speaking about the new content in those videos. So for example, if there's no new characters or events in a version, I won't be speaking about those topics, so I can only focus on the latest content. Rule 2. If I create a review on a gacha game and never revisit it, that likely means there's nothing of value to speak about anymore, or it was a one-off review. And finally, Rule 3. Each gacha review will have a positive and negatives breakdown at the end of each video. This is so for each topic I can focus on the larger aspects, and then speak about the smaller aspects at the end of the video in a list format. If you have any questions about the details of these rules, then please reach out in the comments and I'll be happy to answer any questions. ZZZ's storytelling has always been interesting to me, with its many ways of presenting its story through cutscenes, visual novel-like scenes, and comic book storytelling. It's a lovely blend that really spices up the story in a way that doesn't drag the dialogue out, unlike with other gachas that bore the player with pointless filler dialogue and bland story presentation. And with this basically being the epilogue chapter before season 2 of the story, I think things have been wrapped up nicely and we are transitioning smoothly into the next main arc. Hugo and Vivian are our two new characters, and these two are very well written, might I add. These two are our main focus for this patch for the main story, but we also have two side stories for both Trigger and Ambi, which kind of intertwine with the main story. Both the main story and these two side stories are brilliant and also follow a believable and well thought out timeline. Every side story and main quest does eventually come together in this game, with subtle events happening in both that foreshadow future events of different story missions, whether it's Hugo appearing in 1.0 for a few seconds, or the intermission chapters leading into the next main chapter. The point is, Zenless has a narrative so easy to follow without feeling half-assed. It's got something for everyone, whether you want to see emotional moments, cute and wholesome moments, or action-packed moments. Zenless has all of this, and it blends them together perfectly. It creates a highly interesting timeline, with so much to discover and many mysteries yet to be solved. I mean, we still don't truly know much about the villains of ZZZ. We are slowly being fed information, but at a rate that doesn't just ruin the surprise in a few updates, and I really enjoy that. And with a cast of lovable personalities that are slowly coming together, gets me excited for the future, and how New Eridu will change with our journey, as well as who we will meet along that journey. Overall, I love this version's main story, as well as its side stories. I love the way we find out more about Hugo and Lycan's past, bit by bit, as well as the identity of Ambi. The main story explores some really interesting topics and captures them perfectly, and this side story explores the topics of individuality and moving away from the past, and I can't wait to see more from all of these characters. I'm especially interested to see how our dynamic with Vivian ends up in the next update, and I'm honestly itching for more, because the story was awesome and I enjoyed every single moment of it. With 1.6 comes 3 new characters. First we have the S-rank form of Ambi, Soldier Zero, and honestly nothing really unique about her. She's just an improved version of her A-rank form, with a different role in combat and cleaner animations. She still retains the same element and her playstyle hasn't really changed all too much, but all around quite a solid character and very fun to play as still. Then we have Trigger, an S-rank electro stun unit, who introduces us to a new combat mechanic to use in the form of follow-up attacks. I've been using her a ton lately. She's very fun to use and quite simple to build overall, and a brilliant character with a great design and smooth animations. And finally, Pulchra, an A-rank stun unit who's basically the A-rank version of Trigger, but I won't lie, I do actually prefer her animations overall, especially her ultimate. All around, these 3 units are a solid addition to the current cast of characters, but I do hope in the future they will stop focusing on Electra and Aether units exclusively as much, because I think other elements do deserve some love. There are also a few new updates to Endgame that I honestly enjoy, which makes a change, with a new boss and a few new buffs to collect. There is also the Hugo boss, which I won't go into details about due to spoilers, but what I can say is it's a great fight with a great boss track exclusively for this fight, which you're hearing right now. And honestly, all these new additions and changes are great. I find it fun that they are slowly adding new combat mechanics like follow-up users, like Pulchra and Trigger, and different kinds of supports like Astra. I just hope they don't go too far with it and completely change the combat system, as that's partially what makes Zenless so unique and original. The events for Zenless have always been hit or miss with me. I've enjoyed a few of them, but a majority of them are just walking around 3 minutes every day for a week, or combat events that don't really spice up the gameplay. And I can thankfully say that 1.6 is not like that. It has a variety of events, ranging from a roguelite, near-like combat mode to a slice of life event where you help a knight Bangbu find his princess. I know, it's weird. There are many other events and additional modes too that spice things up, like a shooting range event involving Trigger that is definitely not inspired by Nikkei, and there's also a few others. The point is, there's a lot here, whether you enjoy playing events or only play them for the currency. There's something here for everyone, and I do hope that they make use of these events in the future, which, looking at the events in 1.7, the devs are already onto that feedback, so honestly fair play to them. One of my complaints in the previous review was the fact that Hoyo tends to abandon their fun events, but it does look like that will be changing with the return of the Bangbu Fall Guys mode in the next update. Hopefully this will become a trend for the game going forward, rather than having them be one-time events. This topic will be a little bit different, but I just want to complain about something which I've spoken about on the channel before, and that's the lack of side content in terms of quests for Zenless. I mentioned in my previous review that I've noticed a decline in the amount of side quests and content to find and do around the city in each patch, and that's especially clear to me here, as there has been 0 side quests for a few updates now. Whether you like side quests or not, I think we can all agree on one thing. There is literally nothing to do around New Eridu once you've completed the latest updates content. There's no side quests, there's no Mew quests, there's no chests to find, and there's literally nothing to do in these new areas. Section 6 had 0 side quests in it, it had nothing to do with it, you have literally nothing to really discover and find in Section 6. There's no chests, no quests, nothing. Same with the Star Loop, which is the like the Chinese New Year area with like Astra Yao. There was nothing to do there, not a single side quest, nothing. And no, I don't count like events, I don't count story stuff in, because that isn't side content. My point is, events aren't really side content because you do them in each patch. You have to focus on them if you really want to get the most out of each patch. Those are, you know, the core points of each update. They're the main focus, like the story, the events, the characters. That is like the main focus of the gameplay, is along with the end game being like side content. This as well is side content, like side quests and things to discover, chests and Mew quests, those coin things to find, shops to discover, new areas. That is side content in terms of you can do this at any time. It's not limited time, and it's not like a weekly thing that resets. My point is, there is absolutely nothing to do in this game, and it is so frustrating. I know in 2.0 this will probably change, but my point is, I don't think it will change permanently. I think in 2.0 we'll have a few new areas that will have a lot of content, but then things will just start to decline after like 2 updates, and I think that's a bit silly in my opinion. There's nothing to do. There's a lack of rewards in terms of side content now. The rewards have been slowly decreasing per update, I've noticed. This game is still very rewarding, but there's no side quests, no side content to clear. And that's just something that's been on my mind a lot lately. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about this, if you disagree with me, if you agree, and what you think should be changed for like the game as a whole. This isn't part of my script, by the way, I just wanted to add this in. We'll be moving on to like the final verdict type thing now, so hopefully they will add updates to the game that will further enhance the side content, because there is nothing to do in the HDD system. There is absolutely 0 new content in terms of side quests and 0 exploration value. The city just feels so empty, and it doesn't really make sense to me because it's an urban, modern game. These cities should be sprawling, open, and they should be, you know, explorable, but there's nothing. This is not an open world game, so there's no excuse for there to not be at least a little bit of content in each of these areas when they're so tiny. And here we are at our new topic, the final breakdown. Here I'll be giving a recap in the form of a list of each of my positive and negative thoughts on this update, and after both lists are complete, I will be giving the update a final rating out of 10. Starting off with the positives. The story was brilliant, with an interesting plot to follow. The presentation of both the side stories and the main story was excellent. The voice acting was great, and every new character has a voice that fits in perfectly. Hugo and Vivian are very well written and have quickly become my favourite characters. The new combat additions are brilliant and I can't wait to see them improve on these mechanics in the future. The updates to Endgame are great and I'm interested to see more adjustments in future patches. The soundtrack as always is brilliant and it fits the game's vibe perfectly. Character designs are greatly improving without abandoning the game's original aesthetic. There's a ton of events to play through with something for everyone. Now for the flaws. There has been a lack of exploration value and no side quests for a while now, and there's no content investment other than Endgame, which is a little cheap to me. There's still this weird bug as well that makes textures during the story blocky and blurry. This didn't happen often, only like once or twice, but I did have to quit the game to fix it. This seems to be a PlayStation problem as I've only experienced it with that version, and I've tested other versions and I haven't experienced any of these same issues. Completely abandoning the TV mode also feels a little weird to me, as I could have invested into it. And I do feel like the new version of Exploration is great, but it does kind of feel like the game is losing what made it stand out so much. And now, for the final rating. Zenless Zone Zero version 1.6 is an improvement in many ways, with a story that kept me being interested throughout, and brilliant characters that really stand out. The events are great and overall there's a lot to love, but I just can't ignore the flaws as someone who plays this game daily. I have hope for 2.0, but I was also slightly cautious of Hoyo as lately they seem to love ruining their games for some reason, but we'll see how things hold up in June. And with that, I'll be giving Zenless Zone Zero version 1.6 an 8.5 out of 10. If you disagree with my score or have any feedback, let me know in the comments and I'll be sure to respond. And with that, I'll be seeing you in the next one. Thank you for watching.